But yeah, we're going to be starting off the conversation today speaking about power and why it seems almost impossible to fix this in Nigeria. I'm joined here now by Okezi Okave, who's an energy expert. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Thank you much.
It's very difficult to know where to start, when you're discussing power in Nigeria, knowing where we have been and where we still are at the moment. And I think I just want to talk about, why, maybe in a nutshell, if you can, why it seems so hard to fix this. I was going through some numbers. I think between 1999 and 2010, for starters, we spent about 4.7 trillion in the power sector. Between President Jonathan and President Buhari was about 1.164 trillion. So we're talking close to 6 trillion naira spent, not counting this administration now on power, close to 6 trillion. That is a humongous amount of money. We've seen countries spend way less than that, sometimes a quarter of that, and seen significant improvements. Why is it almost impossible to move the needle? We keep hearing those excuses. Oh, we're generating enough, but we can't transmit. We're transmitting, but we can't distribute. Nobody seems to understand why this ecosystem, after 25, 27 years, doesn't seem to work.
Thank you very much for the question. For me, you've mentioned how much has been spent in the power sector. The truth of the matter is this: we still have to spend so much more. So we'll have to spend billions in order to crack the code, which has more or less shown Nigerians that. So it's as if we are not in a position to enjoy good power supply, but we are. We have a government that is very much interested in cracking that code, and the question is if they're able to achieve that. We as because I work in the company Terraco Energy Limited, we are very much interested in helping the government to crack the code. What I would say is a key thing that government should really look at is creating an enabling environment for investment to come in. Look at the private sector. They have the monies to bring into the sector to boost whatever power generation we need. So it's actually important for the government to more or less provide a platform where where investment can come in. And in addition to that, I would say the government needs to create a sector that is financially viable for investors coming in. I would want to bring in, let's say, 20 billion naira to develop power assets in Nigeria. The government has to give me that confidence so that I know that once I come in, I'm able to recover whatever investment I bring in. There are so many ways the government can play. There are so many roles the government can play in ensuring that our power sector becomes stable. It's a difficult code to crack. I would agree with you. You talked about the GenCos, you talked about the DISCOs, also the TCN. These are infrastructures that need a lot of money for refurbishments, for new infrastructure. So the long and short answer to the question you've asked me is that money has to be pumped into the sector. More money has to be pumped in the sector. In addition to all I've said, I think the government has to put in policies that are more or less friendly for investors to come in. Yeah.
Most people hear what you're saying and wonder, is this a bright idea? Not that, I think everybody understands that money needs to be put in. But I think the worry is that, all this money has been put in and we haven't seen the results. I know you're, because you're not in government, but we always hear this story about how the system doesn't allow things function.
Yeah.
So does more money fix it? If all of this money has gone in and nothing has changed, is it really a money conversation, or is it a systems conversation, or is it a private sector-led initiative that should fix this?
Well, the last part you've said more or less has hit the hammer on the nail. I would say the private sector needs to be brought in to provide more money into the sector and to play a more key role in ensuring that we have that boom in the power sector. It's important for the government, as I always say, it's important for the government to provide a platform for the power sector, for the private sector to come in. They should encourage collaborations between the public and private sectors. It goes without saying, for us to get our power sector to where it should be, we have to spend money. And in addition to that, we need to have a system in place that would give the investors coming in the confidence they need. I'm bringing money in. I don't want to make any losses. I need to be sure that whatever money I'm bringing to the sector, I recover my investment, hopefully with some interest. So the government has a key role to play. The private sector also has a key role to play. I'm sure with the good collaboration systems in place, yes, we could crack the code. Whether we are able to crack the code completely is a question for maybe another day.
So, Mr. President, in his New Year's address in 2024, at the start of this year, did say that he promised Nigerians reliable power supply. I don't know what reliable means, because it might not necessarily mean constant power. And he said that, Nigeria is not going to progress economically without power being sorted. So it looks like at least he understands that that is very important. We are halfway through the year now. I think the one significant thing that has happened in the power sector is this introduction of bans. Band A and all of the hula balloon has come with that. And the ridiculous, for want of a better word, bills that have come with that band without commensurate power being supplied. For a lot of people, seeing complaints on social media, people speaking in the media as well, saying that, I'm a Band A customer. I am one of them. I don't get I'm
a Band A customer too.
1 hours or whatever it's supposed to be. I don't get any of that. And, is that... When you heard about this band or the banding that happened, did that seem like a way to start fixing this? Because I guess the thought behind it is to raise more money from the customers or their high-end customers, like they call it, to be able to, service this chain of power. Does that look like something that's going to work?
The intention of the government, obviously, is for it to work, but I think they've gone about it the wrong way. Before you think about increasing the energy tariff, you must put in infrastructure in place that allows you to generate more power. Not just generate power, allows you to wheel the power down to the final consumers who actually use the power. Once they use the power, they are in the position to make payment for it. So the money is really the monies that the government intends to make from having a band system, a band A, band B, and the increment of tariff. They need to do the legwork. They need to do the background work, which really is putting proper infrastructure in place. And for you to put proper infrastructure in place, as I always sing, there must be investment. The government must provide a platform, must provide an avenue for investors to come in. There should be that confidence. They need to give the investors confidence. I'm coming in. I'm bringing 100 million naira. I'm bringing $100 billion into the sector, and I know that I'm going to recover my investment. It goes without saying. And I think one thing that the government should have done before making all that increment was they should have been proper stakeholder management. You don't just wake up one morning and you're jacking up all the tariffs across the bands. It shouldn't be done like that. We have the MITO in place, which is a multi-year tariff system in place, which allows governments more or less set tariffs. But this should be done taking into consideration the economic realities before doing that. I'm not sure the government did that, and I wish they had, because if they had, probably a band A would have gone from 65 naira to maybe 150 naira rather than jumping straight to 225 naira as it were then. I was in Ghana about 2 months ago, and I picked up the newspaper. The first thing I saw was Ghana government reduces energy tariffs again. And I asked the question, was this done initially? It said, yeah, late last year it was done. And then about 2 months ago, another reduction. This is how you more or less create an avenue where the people who pay for power are given confidence that the government is actually thinking of us while setting all these tariffs. If you're going to set the tariff high, then you have to deliver. You have to deliver power. Even with
the delivery now, because you talked economics there, and it's something that I think continues to come up, I did see something on Twitter, I think, or X, like it's called now, a couple of weeks ago, from a company in Abuja, and they posted a picture of their bill for the month, and it was 40 million naira. 40 million naira. And this is a company I never heard of before, so I don't know if it's a big player or whatever. But regardless of what size the company is, anybody who receives an energy bill for a month of 40 million naira is a significant hit on whatever their returns or revenue or profits is. That takes us into the spillover effect on the economy, on people who are providing services, on people who are selling products. There are probably some factories that are affected by this, who are manufacturing. There are people who are trading, who are going to... This will be felt, basically. Or the guy who feels like I'm in band Z. But I still have to go to the market, so I'll ask for services, and of course I'm going to transfer that cost to people. And these are some of the things that people are talking about. Like you say, the significant increase of this Because first of all, it doesn't even make sense that some people are paying for power more than others. But let's even leave that aside. Maybe they are high earners or whatever it is. But the effect is still going to be felt nationwide. Does that make sense?
Ebuka, you're putting me on the spot right now.
I am.
So I would sit on the fence regarding this. But I'm a Nigerian just like you. I have bills to pay just like you. So, and I feel the pinch in my pocket when I am made to pay so much for power when I'm probably not getting the power I've paid for, which more or less they have charged me for. I also think about the low-income earners in the country who are just barely scratching it together, who have to then pay so much money for energy. It's not right. That's just the long and short of it. It's not right. But what has to be done by the government? The government, as I always say, the government needs to focus on engagement, stakeholder engagement. They came up with a new tariff system where proper stakeholders carried along, where Nigerians informed of these possible increments, when Nigerians informed of the increment itself, of how much increment was going to put on what they're already paying. I don't think so, because the feedback we got from Nigerians was that it just came out of the blue. It came out overnight. So once you carry Nigerians along, the first thing you're telling Nigerians is that we are going to increase your power tariff, but we are also going to ensure that we give you stable and reliable power supply. The band A, the guys who have 20 hours get the 20 hours. Before the show started, you told me about how many hours you get on your band A, and I told you the same thing, almost the same thing for me. So why would I be paying so much money for band A and I'm not getting enough power? I'm not getting band A power. And if I'm not getting band A power and I'm band A, I'm pretty certain whoever is on band A is going to get less power than me. So what the government needs to do is that they need to realize that we Nigerians, we will pay for power, but they need to give us power. And in mix of all of this, we have the private sector, who I know for a fact are very, very much eager to contribute to the development of the country. Yeah. It's a no-brainer that a country with good power system is a country that would develop properly. Sorry to cut you there, because you just mentioned the private sector. And before we get to you, I want to talk about this Siemens. I don't know if that's the pronunciation of the name, but we call them Siemens here. This German company that keeps coming up. I think they signed a deal in 2018 or 2019 to work on the power sector here. It was such a big deal at the time. I think German Chancellor Merkel was in power at the time. Mr. President has come in now and has held another round of negotiations and conversations. And one of his spokespersons, Ajurin Gelale, came out to say that within 18 to 24 months, this deal will start seeing the light of day. But it's been a couple of years now. Most people don't even understand what Siemens is supposed to come here and do, and how that is supposed to revolutionize this industry, and why it's taking so long. Do we have an idea if this is still in the plan, and what it might look like if it actually happens? Well, for the Siemens deal, I mean, I don't know why it's taking so long. I can only speak about possibly other private players who have the capacity to help develop our power sector. I would, if you permit, I'll talk about my company, Tetracor. We recently commissioned a 3.1 million scof of gas CNG plant in Ogun State at Akabo. We at the same event, we also did some groundbreaking for an LNG, a 10 million scof LNG plant at the same location. And our main focus is ensuring energy security. We sang the song on that day, and I'll sing it right here. We know that once we have committed players in the sector, our sector will improve. Once the government gives us an environment where we know we can bring in our investment, we can bring in our funds, definitely there will be recovery. Proper policies are put in place. There are regulatory frameworks put in place. Everything that has to be in place, put in place. The private sector, take it from the private sector, would rise to the occasion in this country and deliver on the power end. The question is the government ready to involve the private sector the way we want to be involved in? What is hindering that? Because we've heard in the past, at least recent past, about the liberalization of the sector. State governments were supposed to be allowed to now do the thing. Then we heard that there was a pullback on that. Not sure exactly, but what do you mean when you say the private sector needs to be led in? Because there's also the argument that, because of how bad the situation is, do all of this
quote unquote, not necessarily speaking of you now, but quote unquote, small players, are they going to make that much of an impact in the industry that needs huge investment?
So if we have 1,000 private players in the sector, don't you believe that there will be some kind of improvement? There will be some kind of impact? No, I'm not just talking about my company or 2 or 3 other companies. The government needs to put in place avenues, put in place measures where a private sector, private players will come on board and be so confident in the government, in bringing the money in and recovering their money. There's the whole foreign direct investments. Some have spoken about their interest in coming to Nigeria. Some have more or less shunned the offers of coming to Nigeria. We need to make this country attractive for investors to come in. And in addition to that, the government needs to be a little bit realistic in their expectations of the private sector. I would pick up an experience we had sometime last year while we were trying to raise financing for securing an upstream assets. The signature bonus itself was a lot of money to pay. We met with investors in Dubai, we met with investors in London, and conditions they gave us more or less made it difficult for us to raise the financing. Somebody then said, why is your government's signature bonus so high that you struggle to even pay for just the first level? You are struggling to pay for the first level, knowing that once you get the assets, you still have to pump in much more money in developing the assets. So the government needs to more or less create that avenue, that space where the private sector can come in and know that I'm bringing my money in and there will be no issues. It's, as I said, some of these things are topics that we probably talk about another day.
I have 2 very quick questions. We're almost out of time, so please, very quickly. First of all, I mean, you talked about your company. You guys are working with gas.
Yes,
and
natural gas.
We've heard in the past about, the supply chain of gas and how it probably has been an issue in the past. We hear all of this talk about renewable energy, solar, and all of that. Why is gas a better, efficient way? And why should we be looking at that?
Well, the simple answer is gas is cleaner. It's more environmental friendly. So we talked about quickly. So we talked about the energy transition plan that the federal government has from Buhari's administration, which President Tinubu's administration is trying to promote. Kudos to them for that. And one of the things they're trying to push out there is the fact that natural gas is cleaner than fossil fuels, and natural gas is more or less more environmental friendly. So that is one of the reasons why we are very passionate about natural gas, and we know that within time, most likely before 2060, which is the net zero target that we have, we should be able to transition properly from fossil fuels to natural gas.
On a final note, on a scale of 1 to 10, very quickly, how would you rate the Minister of Power, the current minister?
I would keep my answer for now. I think he's doing a very good job. And kudos to him. He has done so well. I would give him a 5. I'll give him a 5. Very strong 5.
Very good. Okay.
A very strong 5.
Thank you very much for being here today. And good luck with all your things. I mean, we all need power here, so we're rooting for you guys to succeed. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.